Hey guys, it's been so long since I've posted a video, period, slash when I was just talking. Oh, I'm sorry, my hair yet again. It's probably gonna be awful. Anyway, I always start videos doing this. There's okay, nothing, no more. So today I wanted to share just a very brief story about my first ever visit to a Hindu temple. I'd never been to a Hindu temple before, but where I live, there's a lot of Indians. In recent history, many more Indians have moved here. I'm not honestly sure why, but I'm not going to complain because they have brought delicious food with them. So, hey, that's fine with me. And also the outfits that the ladies wear are just so pretty. I love it. So I made a friend who doesn't actually live here, but lives nearby, who's also Indian, and she's Hindu, and she really wanted to go to temple, and the closest one is the one near where I live, so I just brought her here. And I'd never been inside before. I have seen it distantly from the road, and I kind of sat outside it one time with another friend while we let this Hindu friend of ours worship inside, but I'd never been inside, and I was always really curious. But I'm not Hindu. I don't ever plan on being Hindu. I am Christian, and I'm personally convinced that that is the correct way of believing in things. But I really did want to see the inside because the outside was just very pretty. Just big white steps and beautiful elephant statues and just beautiful design elements that I really, really enjoyed, and I was curious what the inside would look like. But the biggest hang up for me was that I couldn't just walk in there and just be like, "Hey, this is cool. Okay, bye." Like, that's not respectful at all or right. And I felt like since I'm not Indian, I really wouldn't fit, I guess. Not to be racist or anything, but just I didn't think it would be right of me. But my friend that I took yesterday told me that, no, you don't have to come in, but if you want to come with me, you're more than welcome to. And so it's just like, yeah, sure. Because for years now, I've really wanted to visit other places of worship and just see how people do things. Not because I want to change. I am completely happy being a Christian. And, well, anyway, yes. So it's just out of curiosity because it does exist. And I think if it is going on around me, why would I just turn a blind eye and not see what it is like? If that makes any sense. I mean, I'm not going to get harmed from it. I'm just going to learn from it and learn to respect other people, and other people who have different views than me. So it's like, hey, I definitely want to go in and check it out. And she had told me that in India, the temples are just massive, and they have separate rooms for each of the gods, each of the deities, and it's just much different. But I have to say, I mean, it wasn't exactly what I expected, but it was, even from the little bit that I saw, it was very pretty. They either had imitation or actual, like, marble sinks where you wash your hands. I think it was marble, so that, like, when you go in, there's a little walkway, and then there's sinks where you clean your hands off, and then there's a little cubby where you take your shoes off, which I thought was really cool. You're not allowed to wear your shoes where the deities are. And then you go into this room, and it's just kind of like a conference room size. I don't know how else to call it. I think it had maroon color carpeting, and then it had a bunch of seats that there was really not many people in there. There's a handful of people in there, but there's a bunch of seats that no one was sitting on. And then all around the outskirts of the room at different places, there is these deities. And I think there was also like sparkly chandeliers on the ceiling, a few of them. It was just, I was surprised at how much glam there was. Like, I mean, it wasn't overbearing at all, but where each of the deities were, there was like there was bead things hanging behind them, and there was kind of jewelry-esque looking things draped on some of them, and sparkly things just kind of placed all throughout, and it was just visually very beautiful. I mean, lots of just sparkly, shiny, beady, girly. I hate to make it sound girly, but it really was like, as a girl, I love this. I don't know what I would think if I was a guy, because it was not manly. But it was visually very, very beautiful. And there was a lovely smell of like incense in the air, and they had, I don't know what you'd call it. I mean, like Eastern sounding kind of music, just kind of low, and it was just very calming. I mean, it reminds me of what you'd listen to if you were in yoga or something. It was just very calming. The whole atmosphere was very calm. and peaceful. And my friend actually, we went to a grocery store nearby, and she brought some offerings to give to one of the deities. And there was a bowl there that I think someone else had brought an offering. I don't think it was extremely common, or at least on that day, I really didn't see anything that looked like offerings. And I don't know what they do with them. I'm really curious about that, honestly. But there was, I think, one or two other people had brought offerings. And there was people standing and praying in front of each of the deities. So they, like, the one end of the room, there was just a bunch of them all lined up, and then a few other ones scattered throughout. And so people would, like, pray in front of each one of them, and then some people would kneel. Some people would, it kind of was like a Korean way when they apologized, like, profusely. I've never actually seen it in person, obviously, but when they, like, kneel but also put their head, like, you know, on the forehead on the floor. Some people were completely lying down on the floor, like, completely prostrate. Which I just thought was fascinating. It's just really, really interesting to see the different methods of praying to these gods that they believe in. Yeah, and I mean, the gods themselves, they, honestly, they all looked like, kind of like girls to me. I'm not sure if they were supposed to, but it just, like, I don't know if they were, like, porcelain or what, but they were just, the skin, whatever you want to call it, was just all, like, white, and then the clothing they were wearing was colored, and then any ornamentation was very colorful. But there was gods with, like, multiple heads. I think there might have been an elephant god. Not entirely sure on that. And then there were some deities that were just, like, you know, a normal-looking person. Yeah. So it was definitely, sorry, I got food. It was definitely a very interesting experience, and I didn't know what to do. I was not going to be praying to them. I'm pretty sure God would send lightning down from heaven and strike me if I did that, but I also didn't want to just walk out, you know, because it was fascinating, and I mean, there was something very, very beautiful about it that I really respected and appreciated. And I just kind of wanted to stay in there. So after I'd kind of looked at each of the deities, obviously I don't know who any of them are or what they're related to, I saw this thing, like, poster on the wall that kind of described, I mean, I've heard there's millions of deities in Hinduism, so I'm sure you can never even know half of them, obviously, but there was a poster outlining some of the deities. And it was really interesting because one of the deity groups, there was like a threesome that they called the Trinity. And they were three aspects, like three different deities, but they were all part of one overall deity. And they were kind of involved with, like, creating the world and making sure it was continuing to turn. I mean, like, making sure life is continuing, I guess, basically. And then they had, like, 3 wives, so there was, like, 3 and 3, and then, like, a bunch of other deities. I really didn't understand it, but I just found that so fascinating, that, yeah, even in a religion that I don't think Hinduism has anything to do with the Christian view of God, because, like, in Islam, they do believe that Jesus existed. They just think he was, like, a prophet or a good guy. I don't think Hinduism has any correlation to Christianity. However, there is still, somewhere in the midst of all these many gods, deities, there is a belief of there being a trinity that are involved with creation, the creation of the world. And I was like, that is just mind-blowing. Because even if I'm wrong, even if Christianity is wrong, which it's not, but even if it is, I feel like there are so many threads that are very similar that run through all these different religions, and that has to say something, especially to, like, an atheist, someone looking from the outside that doesn't really agree with any of them. If you really look, or like the flood accounts, where so many different religions have flood accounts, it's just really fascinating to see that there are threads that weave these things all together. And it just kind of makes you wonder, like, what is truth then? And it makes me really grateful to believe that I have found truth. And it also makes me really happy, sad, but also happy to find similarities with other people in other religions. But I hope that I can maybe have more conversations with my friend and just try to understand things a little better. Yeah, so I'm really grateful to have had that experience. I feel very privileged. Because maybe 4 years ago, I also went to a mosque once, and that was a different experience. It did not feel quite as calm to me. I mean, it was nice. I remember there was like floor prayer rugs on the floor, and they were beautiful. Obviously, the designs on the rugs were beautiful, but it was much smaller. There was no music. There was no incense. You know, they didn't give the atmosphere of relaxation quite as much. So for me, the experience of being in the mosque was a little different. But yeah, I mean, regardless, I feel very honored and privileged to be able to have a little sneak peek into these people's lives that I don't think a lot of people really get to see. And yeah, I hope that in the future I can find little pathways to kind of have conversations with people and connect with them when maybe otherwise there wouldn't be much of a connection. And I think it's a really good thing to... I'm just rambling now, sorry. I think it's a really good thing to break down your own walls of comfort or even your own personal beliefs. I mean, don't ever give up your beliefs per se, but understand that there are people that have different beliefs than you and that there may be similarities there you never knew existed, and springboard off of those. Try to find those and springboard off of those, because I think that is kind of a really special gift that God has given us, and I really want to pursue that more in the future, so hopefully there will be opportunities to do so. Anyway, sorry for rambling so much. That's pretty much all I have to say. So, alright, well, see you later. Bye!